Base science! Why science sucks these days? Because the availability of medicine, big pharma, selling drugs, selling pills for every ill, insurance, some of the biggest freaking industries. That's why science sucks. Science is mostly bought out. But there is some good science. But the base science is suppressed like a motherfucker. And that's the sad truth. They do these philanthropist tricks. They try to make people think nature is bad, science is good. But the science that they are teaching ain't real science, it's pseudoscience. It's that snake oil science. There's so many big questions to be asked, but nobody's studying them. Nobody's doing that science because dollar bills, yo. So today we're gonna talk about maybe my favorite science, the most suppressed science on earth. There's many suppressed sciences, but this one, if this is real, and we already know it's real at some level, but because nobody's working on it, we cannot know more. But if it is like this, all those big industries making those dollar bills out of you peasants, out of you slaves, NPC normies who go along with these plans. And what did this? Oh boy, holy moly. It's gonna be billions of human beings injured, full of cancer, dropping dead in couple years. It already is happening. And who's making bang out of it? These guys anyway. Alright guys, transmutation. We can make elements out of other elements in our bodies. Nutritional deficiencies might not be no problem if your redox is good. Life makes elements. This ain't metaphor, bitch. It's not esoteric. It's just inconvenient. Because it means the periodic table is not a closed system. And that scares the hell out of reductionist science. Well, I think it scares a lot of pockets of these scientists. It scares their boats, their Mercedes-Benz, BMWs, their second homes, their bullshit-ass college tuition for their children. Like these scientists that go along with this, they are smooth brainers, bro. They don't think this through at all. Their children are gonna suffer like a motherfucker because these actions. Anyway, the scientific cover-up. Tell me something new, boy. So basically, it talks about in Cold War, the Russians were studying this shit. The Russians were actually super smart. They were side trained. They don't use the EMFs, the non-native EMFs like we do. And they trying to warn United States with the Moscow embassy incident when they freaking beamed the EMFs to the US embassy. And a bunch of those US embassy guys got turbo cancers. The Russians were trying to tell you that this EMF stuff you're doing, this EMF stuff, it's real dangerous. Then the US embassy in the Moscow had to put tinfoil everywhere. That's where the tinfoil head conspiracy meme comes from. But plenty of these guys got some really fast cancers because the Russians were like, this is what the EMF does. If you're gonna roll this shit onto your population, get ready. This on top of those snake tails, on top of those non-native EMFs that have gotten stronger and stronger, boy. We are in trouble. Biological transmutation. So the French guy, Louis Kirvan, he's the godfather of this. He did a study. Well, he fed hens, raw chickens, with food that had 0 calcium. And he observed hens laying calcium-rich eggs despite being fed 0 dietary calcium. The official explanation, they pull it from their bones. Sounds tidy, except it doesn't match the science. Sounds like some Rockefeller nonsense. Some of that Bernays propaganda. So this guy was smart. He tracked 3 anomalies. No measurable bone loss in the hens, even after weeks of laying. So there goes that Rockefeller propaganda shit. Eggshells continued to contain abundant calcium well past physiological limits. A steady drop in potassium that mirrored the rise of calcium. These hens were transmutating the potassium to calcium. We can make elements inside of us. This explains so much. But the question is, how do you do it? What do you need? My guess is sunlight, grounding, good redox. The better your redox, better your body can transmutate. His conclusion, potassium plus hydrogen, calcium. Biological transmutation. Bone calcium is finite. So why the fuck would the hens take their calcium out of their bones? They would become hollow motherfuckers. They weren't. They were converting potassium into calcium with pressure, light, and structure, not heat. The light is the key, guys. Light is the key to everything. That's why the Genesis starts with first there were light or something like that. Sorry, my Bible scholar skills little rusty over here. But first there were light. It's all about light, guys. Even your food, even the raw chicken I just ate, that was made out of light. So the Soviets did a bunch of experiments that they shared with nobody. The closed system paradox. And there's a bunch of these experiments. The hen study is the most famous one. But then there was some of the soils. So barley was grown in a sealed atmosphere in soil with no measurable boron. After 28 days, the plants contained detectable boron levels. Repeated 5 times, same results, no contamination, no input. They checked water, triple distilled, soil samples, atmosphere, containers, grow lamps. Conclusion: the boron appeared under photonic stimulation. It's light, boy, with no source identified. They called it photo-induced trace element generation. Not magic, just biology doing what physics said was possible. Biophysics over biochemistry. Biochemistry motherfuckers, you need to step up your game. But are you fraudulent or ignorant? If you're ignorant, you need to step up your game. If you're fraudulent, fuck you, boy. Okay, Japan has also done a lot of base science. Japan seems to be one of the epicenters of base knowledge and base science. Over 6 days, okay, what they did? Studied chick embryos grown in strictly defined mineral media. The calcium and magnesium levels were measured daily. Findings: over 6 days, magnesium increased despite no magnesium in the solution. Potassium levels dropped slightly, corresponding to the magnesium rise. UVA light exposure accelerated the trend. The more UV light you get, the more transmutation. Sunlight is the answer to everything. You can probably be breatharian, actually you can't, because maybe you could in past. That would be kinda. But the more sunlight you get, the less you have to eat, because you get a bunch of energy in sunlight. I explained this a little bit in the creating energy video. Go check that one out. Like nobody knows that you only make about 1/3 of your ATP, which is the energy your mitochondria makes, out of food electrons. Only 1/3. The 2/3, the more sunlight you get, the more grounding you get, the less food electrons you need. The more you sit inside in your Wi-Fi environment, beaming yourself with that 5G, the more food you need, the faster you age. Physics, motherfucker. Then there was the Soviet example. Soviet space physiology studies from early Soviet missions, some only declassified in the 90s. I bet the US also knows this. Found that cosmonauts showed unexplained mineral profile shifts after extended time in orbit. Iron levels increased despite low iron food and zero supplementation. So throw your supplementations to the trash, Kobe. Zinc levels remained stable in one subject despite being on restricted diet. Blood potassium dropped while calcium rose in multiple cases. They hypothesized field-mediated internal redistribution of elements behind closed doors. One biophysicist wrote in a marginal note, "This may not be redistribution, this may be conversation." Why these weren't published globally? Violated the law of mass conservation. Undermined nutritional dogma. That's a big one, bro. Everybody got that nutritional dogma, even the raw meat motherfuckers. I made a whole video about religious beliefs. Go deep. Go check that one out. Chuck says the periodic table was editable by life, not fixed by stars. The Soviets didn't laugh at the freaking chicken experiment. They actually confirmed him, which they sealed behind language barriers. Like these Russians did all kinds of cool experiments in space science. But they were like, we're not gonna let Anybody else figure this one out? Like, bro, Russia probably has a bunch of cool shit going on, but we just have a very Western media idea about Russia. They probably have a bunch of bullshit also going on. But if they don't radiate their population with the EMFs, it's better than the Western world. Okay, there were a bunch of examples from the wars. Like British physicians tracked nutrient profiles of Allied prisoners liberated from German camps. Many had been on low iron diets for months, yet showed normal hemoglobin levels, regenerated red blood cell counts, iron reserves in liver tissue that couldn't be explained by intake. Controls, their food rations were documented, blood was sampled within 48 hours of release, bone marrow function was active. One official report noted iron levels restored in absence of intake, further biochemical clarification pending. That clarification never came. Wonder why. Churchill probably with his Rothschild freaking what's the word, leaders, like Churchill was a Rothschild puppet, if you didn't know that one out. Anyway, the magnesium maintenance protocol, Korean War, American field medics in Korea noticed something strange. Wounded soldiers under extended meals ready to eat only diets, those are some bullshit ass food, meals deficient in magnesium didn't develop classic signs of magnesium depletion. Instead, their magnesium remained stable in plasma, appeared in muscle biopsies, showed up without supplementation. A secret DARPA internal review included. DARPA knows about this stuff. Oh, we fucked. DARPA has destroyed our world. They did everything to enslave us. Anyway, magnesium balance appears field preserved. Mechanism unknown. I bet they do know it now. No corresponding dietary input. One biophysicist proposed electrolyte recycling via membrane compression. Another said off record, I think they are making it. Yeah, there's selenium in starved. There's a bunch of these experiments. If you wanna, this article is super long. Phosphorus, boron, nitrogen anomaly. They were never peer reviewed because Maxwell family owns the peer review science. They don't wanna look into this science. But they basically showed the crops do it, the animals do it, the human beings do it. Why this was a problem? If crops can create minerals, fertilizer economics collapse. Yeah, we have created bunch of industries, bunch of freaking economics that are built on bullshit. We don't need all this. Like when you think about all these jobs and works, I'm glad AI is taking them out of these smooth-brainer retards that are doing the work for the elites. They can finally see that what they have been working on all their lives is some bullshit. And what's coming to them? Good. That's nature. Soil science must merge with field physics. And first of all, nature is smarter than industry. Boom! Yes, sir. We already know that in base science, don't we? Being connected with nature is the most important thing that you can do. Being connected with industry is probably the worst thing you can do. Only way I can see it being good is if you can make a lot of dollar bills in somewhat like genius way that's not hurting anybody, not hurting yourself that much. You can make a lot of dollar bills, then you can convert that fiat to maybe Bitcoin or get some land or some real resources with that money, and then you can dip out. But even then, that's like 1 in a billion can maybe do that. So fuck the industry. Nature is the answer to everything. Everything. You are told food absorbs what's in the dirt, but what if it makes what it needs? With light. So yeah, there's a bunch of this shit. Bunch. And the UV light seems to be the answer. And the light is answer to anything. The light makes the hormones in us. The light gives us energy, free energy. The light affects how we get energy from the food. The light controls how we feel. Everybody knows how they feel on a nice sunny day, and everybody knows how they feel in middle of November or in December when it's rainy and dark and cold. If you don't, good. I want you to not figure it out. A team at University of Osaka irradiated cell cultures with pulsed UVC lasers, 260 nanometer light, tracking metal content before and after exposure. Their findings: zinc increased, manganese decreased. Control cultures kept in dark showed no change. Repetition yielded consistent elemental rebalancing under light. Yes. Conclusion: UV exposure mediates internal metalloprotein reconfiguration, possible photon-induced isotope shift. Mainstream just means like pseudoscience, snake oil, Rockefeller, Rothschild knowledge, like just dollar bills, how yellow journals rejected it. No known mechanism. Yeah, because you don't study it, so you can't figure it out. I bet Jack Roos knows the mechanism already. I bet he knows this. That was the problem. I have to ask. Biology showed the results, but the physics, the mans, couldn't explain it. And then they was just, I give up. This collapses so many economics. This collapses so many industries. This makes so many cures for so many ills that we now got pills. And if we figure out the cure, the pills are obsolete. And that collapses our industry. And we cannot have that Mercedes-Benz anymore. We cannot have our third home. Yeah. But check out this article. I'm gonna leave it to the description. Let's check this one out. An experiment in Montpellier tested whether coherent light could alter trace metal balances in yeast colonies. Yeast grown in mineral deficient agar pulsed with 365 nanometer UVA at circadian intervals. So important, circadian rhythms, it's all about those. that makes the body run good, that makes the harmony. This is circadian rhythms. That's what the Freemasons don't want you to know about. Elemental composition test using atomic absorption spectroscopy. Findings: cobalt and molybdenum appeared over 7-day cycles. Control colonies showed no shift. Elemental peaks followed light timing, not nutrient exposure. The lead researcher final statement: these elements are not absorbed, they are timed into being by light. Did you know that when you cut hay, it has more sugar content if you cut it before 11 a.m.? After that it has less sugar content. It's all about light, guys. Transmutation. This is the real base science. Let's start figuring this shit out. The practical steps are what I say every day. Get your ball sack out in the sunlight. Sit your bare ass on the grass and enjoy outside all day. That's the answer. That's how you maximize probably the transmutation. And the more UV light you get, the better it's gonna be. So better get into environment with more UV light. If you're missing UV light, you have to create the light with your own mitochondria, and the cold might be the answer to that. Or that's highly unlikely. So, if you don't get the light outside, you have to create it inside of yourself. Yeah, we all do. And the more coherent, the better the light our mitochondria works, the better we're gonna be. Light, transmutation, based science.